俺だって飛びたいんだ。無認可のイリーガルヒーロー、ビジランテというわけか。
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to Paws On Animation and our Paws On Manga segment.
And today we're fully covering the My Hero Academia spin-off manga, Vigilantes.
Woohoo! We did cover the manga a while back when we were reading through the first few volumes, but now with the manga officially ended and the new anime adaptation finally arriving, it's time we finally talk about the entire manga. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click notification with some future podcasts and pause videos.
And thank you so much for joining us today, subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, and being with us on our journey to reach over 2,000 subscribers this year. As always, we appreciate everything you do.
Yes.
So, for those of you in the know, you know this is a My Hero Academia spinoff.
Yes.
For those of you not in the know, this is a My Hero Academia spinoff.
Yes. And this came out quite a few years after the original My Hero Academia manga, and it served as sort of a prequel to the events of the story. Now, it's not directly lined up with everything, but I will say by the end of it, you will see some things end up impacting the main series as you read along.
Now, it's called Illegals in Japanese instead of Vigilantes. And it's created by Horikoshi, but it's not written by Horikoshi.
Right.
It's written by Hideyuki Furuhashi and illustrated by Betten Court.
Okay.
And it originally ran from August of 2016 through May of 2022. And yes, the book is being finished this long, but it took so long for us in the West to get the translated volumes where we could read.
Exactly.
It ran 15 volumes, and we actually bought the last 3 because before that we were reading them through the library, and then suddenly the library stopped carrying them.
Yes.
So if you want to be able to read the entire series, you're going to have to purchase the last 3.
Unfortunately. And what we really love about it is that MHA already has other spin-offs like School Briefs and Smash and Team Up Missions and stuff. But what we really love about Vigilantes is that it's so good that it earns its place being in the MHA universe. Absolutely. It doesn't feel like you're reading someone else's writing and trying to fit their writing and their way of MHA into the universe. This writer somehow, some way has nearly the exact same writing style and superhero fanatics as Horikoshi. And what's really wonderful is that you read that, you were just as enticed to reading this as much as you were the regular MHA series.
Absolutely. And another great thing is you get to see some of your favorite heroes who are in MHA.
Yes.
Appear in here, and you see them before, like in the early days of being heroes.
Yes.
Including...
big one is Aizawa.
Yes, and we also learn a little more about Loud Cloud.
Right. And Present Mike and All Might a little bit.
And Midnight.
Yes, a lot of Midnight.
So you get to see more of them and how they were before they became professors or teachers at the university, at MHA.
Well, I guess later. Maybe that's later.
Yes. And you're going to love how some of the personalities were before they became who they are now. Aizawa was a little different.
Yes.
And then you find out what the event was that made him the man he is now.
Yeah, you finally get a backstory on what happened with Loud Cloud.
And Midnight was bat crap crazy.
Oh my god.
But you love her still. And when you see her costume prior to the one she wears, what she wore in MHA, you're going to be laughing hysterically because she's covered up in MHA.
Right. It's like...
And as you mentioned, the writing is so good. You are drawn in the first book. The characters are likable and interesting. The villains are interesting.
Yes.
And you can see precursors to the ones in the current MHA volumes. And you also see a younger One for All.
Yes, and a younger Stain before he was Stain.
Yeah.
So that ended up being one of the best, actually the best arcs of the series.
So, for details in particular, it takes place 5 years before the events of the main series. And the story follows Koichi Hamawari.
Yes.
Koichi, or the Crueler, or the Crawler,
or the
Helper, or whatever name you want to call him in the book. And he's actually a college student who uses his quirk to help others despite not being a licensed hero.
Right.
And he helps, not just doing errands and helping little ladies across the street and
Yes.
all these things, but he also helps by being a hero.
Yes.
And then you have a couple other people who join him, like I call her Pop Star Step, but it might be Pop Step.
I think so, but
and
that
Knuckle
star.
Duster.
Yes, they have the star in the center, so that's what I'm saying.
Oh, and you also get to see a younger Miracle.
Yes! Surprisingly, yes, in one volume they do actually go into that, where she had the persona Tiger Bunny, which they said wasn't intentional to be a reference, but ended up being one anyway.
Definitely.
And which another thing I really like is that this is basically a precursor to Deku, but Koichi is not a knockoff of Deku or just the same Deku,
Very
twice
true.
different one. He had a whole different way.
And a whole different personality.
Right. Then they wanted you to see that his life is completely different. His way of trying to be a hero ended up being different from Deku's.
Mm-hmm.
Knuckle Duster was pretty much his All Might, and he had to learn a much different way
He's a cross
to be a
between
hero.
All Might and Batman.
Right. If you read the Dark Knight one, like the comics of Frank Miller, that's the version that he's inspired by. And as you're reading the story and playing now, you really want him to become an official hero, because in this world, if you don't have a license, it's illegal and he might as well be a criminal. So you're just hoping that at some point he gets recognized throughout the story, because this poor guy keeps getting through the ringer.
Now keep in mind, this is the same universe as the MHA we know,
Yes.
as well as One Punch Man.
Yes.
So you get a whole well-rounded story of this universe by reading and watching all 3 anime.
Yes.
And this one does have an anime coming out
Yay!
on Rascal's birthday, April 7th.
Yay!
The schedule. It's going to be directed by Kenichi Suzuki, written by Yosuke Kuroda, and music by Yuki Hayashi, Shogo Yamashiro, and Yuki Furuhashi.
Yes.
Studio Bones is putting out, so you know it's going to look good.
Yeah, it'll look like MHA.
The trailer has been released, and you should be seeing just a little of that now. And it looks fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. I also want to mention you get to see a younger Tsukuuchi and his crazy sister.
Oh
and
my
she
god.
actually falls for Koichi.
Oh my gosh. I think that was one of the
Unexpected plot
Yeah, because even he didn't believe it.
So let's tell you just how great this book is.
Okay.
The first volume sold over 18,000 copies the first week it was out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was ranked among the top 20 manga graphic novels in 2018. And it was chosen as one of the best manga in 2018 as well. And it was listed at that time in the underrated but awesome manga category in 2019 at the San Diego Comic-Con. It also received Barnes & Noble's Our Favorite Manga of 2018, stating that it may be more entertaining than the original. I don't know about that. I think it's just as entertaining.
Yes.
I think they're equal.
Exactly.
And the website wrote, while some of the characters of the original series drop in from time to time, Vigilantes is really a whole new story set in the world of the original, exploiting a different set of possibilities. It should be exploring, but they said exploiting.
Exploring.
And completely enjoyable on its own. I agree with that.
Right. And another thing while you're reading is that there's a bunch of characters that come and end up being allies of Koichi and his friends. Because he starts out with somebody who doesn't have friends. Not because he doesn't want them, but his classmates thought he was a weirdo and a perv because he wanted them to come over and have a party with him at his makeshift apartment. They thought he was trying to be a perv. And it's like, what makes you think that? What is wrong with you? But you like that he ends up getting this big barrage of fans and friends as it goes on through his hero work and through just talking with them. And towards the end, you actually end up seeing a ton of superhero references, just like the main series.
Yes.
Like one of the two big ones that people love, especially us, was one when he had his catchphrase and things. And at one point, he was doing a Darkwing Duck reference.
Yes.
And then another one, you actually get to see Tenya's brother Tensei in here.
Yes.
Mama says a little boring, and it's, it's like
if you never thought that Tenya was not interesting, he was a little boring. His brother is more boring, so Tenya is actually exciting.
Right.
But they're both really nice guys.
And at one point he said, when on the comic, what's the sitch?
Don't say that.
So there's lots of great references references in here from past superhero shows and Marvel and
Yes.
DC. It's not just exclusive to one or two comics. It's like going any superhero show out there, there's a reference to it somewhere in here.
And the ending also was a surprise. We won't give any
Right.
spoilers. We did expect something different, but we got what we got. And it was a happy ending.
Yes.
So for those of you that don't like happy endings, don't read this manga.
Oh.
And I say that because it was the similar outlook with Tokyo Revengers, where people were upset that there was a happy ending.
Right.
Well, this has a happy ending, and we're so happy it does. If it hadn't been, we would have been upset. But it ends differently than you expect.
A little bit, yeah.
But it's still a good ending. And what I'm really hoping is that there will be a sequel to this book.
Yes.
And we get to see Koichi as a hero later on, where he becomes an official hero.
Right.
Now, that might be doubtful because we've never heard him mentioned in the MHA universe.
Right.
And he may have stayed in the Vigilante.
Right.
As a Vigilante and unlicensed.
True. And one last thing to mention, if maybe unless they add the Vigilantes mentioned in the anime, you never know. One last thing to mention is that you do end up seeing All For One towards the end. We won't say how because it'll be a spoiler.
Right.
But they do infer that Koichi is the reason All For One ends up looking for Shigaraki. Not because he knew him already ahead of time, but they mention about how his powers work and how he's really supposedly this bland person that just happens to have powers, but he used them in a way so different that it's went from a weak quirk to a strong quirk just by constantly perfecting it. And that inspired him to go find someone like that, but someone that wasn't already wanting to be a hero.
Yes.
And I thought that was a pretty clever thing to do, to show how did he end up going after somebody like Shigaraki. Well, it's because of Koichi, and you knew he wasn't going to turn to the League of Villains,
he's
so
not.
he went and got someone else.
True. And last, I
Okay.
want to mention there's a final boss villain in here who has the ability to change his appearance.
Yes.
And it is so hilarious because just like Demon Slayer, there's one change he makes where he ends up looking like Michael Jackson.
That was the funniest thing. Like, what is
He
this?
has the hat on and the glove.
Yes. And another one, he dressed like Wild Tiger.
Yes. So this book is a fun read, entertaining, action-packed. You get to see some of the heroes prior to their MHA appearances. You get to learn more about heroes we may never see in the MHA universe. And the writing is just fantastic. The
Yes.
artwork is great. It is on par with Horikoshi's on artwork.
Yes.
And we don't say that lightly. Looking at it, you really can't tell the difference between his artwork and Horikoshi's. And his,
Yes.
I mean Furuhashi.
Yes.
So, if you have read the entire series of MHA Vigilantes,
Yes.
let us know in the comments. Did you love it like we did? Did you think it was meh? Are you looking forward to seeing the anime like we are? We can't wait.
Yes.
Let us know. If you've seen the trailer and you've never read the manga and you have thoughts and comments on the series, let us know in the comments. And if
Right.
you haven't read it, you really should go to your library, get as many volumes as you can, and go ahead and buy the final volumes before the price goes up.
Right.
We bought 13, 14, and 15, and we got them under $10 each one.
Yes, because you know when
If
anime
you wait
comes
till
out.
then, you're going to be paying through the nose.
Yes.
So go ahead and get them now if you are a Horikoshi fan and want to support him. And
If you haven't already, subscribe for updates, and we'll give you some anime series, anime shows, and all things animation and manga.
yes, and thank you so much for joining us today. Subscribing, sharing our videos. You know the spiel. We love you guys.
Yes.
As always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching Rascal
And
Entertainment.
I'm on Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around, man. Who the hell are you? What you wanna do? My man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the